I've been tasked to solve this system of equations. It's something we do in electronics a lot, and the equations need to be in a standard form, and what we want is coefficient. We want to make a coefficient matrix out of this equation. So if I have an x column, a y column, and I can use any variable, and a constant column, then these equations simply break down into the coefficients. So I've got a 5, a negative 6. Remember that subtraction is really the addition of negative numbers. So anytime you see a minus sign, go ahead and make the coefficient negative and make it positive. I left out that step, but that's what you do. And then a 9, and then my second equation, the coefficient of that x term is 1, a 2, and my constant term is minus 2. So I've come up with a matrix, and what I've got here is I've got 2 rows and 3 columns, and I'm going to solve that. So then I'm going to use Scilab to do that, and I'm going to enter this matrix into Scilab, and then I'm going to tell it just solve it. Okay, so first things first, anytime you open up Scilab, you go to a middle window, you get this little cursor with the arrow, and anytime you want to solve something, I suggest you name it, because you name it, then it becomes a variable, and you can go back and recall that value later if you use it in another calculation or whatever. So in this case, I'm just going to call it sample, and I've got to define what it is. So there's an equal sign, and now I'm using my brackets, which are near the enter key. And what I do is I enter each row separated by a space or a comma. I like the spaces. I think it looks neater. So I'm typing 5 space minus 6 space 9. When I get to the end of the row, but I'm not done with my matrix, I press the semicolon button. That allows me to do my next row. So 1 space 2 space negative 2. I'm at the end of my matrix. It's just 2 rows, 3 columns. I close the bracket, and you have to use brackets, and it gives me what I typed in, so you can see it. Okay, now I've got that matrix, same as what I've got up here on the Word document. So now what I want to do is open Office document. So now what I want to do is I want to reduce it. So I'm going to create a new variable. I'm very technical. I just put an R in front of my old variable name, equals, and then I'm going to do a very unique command, RREF, which stands for reduced row echelon form. It's a linear algebra term. There is classes on linear algebra. It redefines sample. Well, let's start with a different variable. Nice thing about Scilab is you can go up and you can, using the arrow up key on your keyboard, you can get the last things you typed. So it didn't like the variable name I picked, so let's say sample X. Okay, no warnings. So then I'm going to restart, and I'm going to say R sample X, and you can edit it, equals RREF, reduced row echelon form of. Now I can just use the variable name instead of typing that matrix all the way back in, and put it in parentheses this time, not brackets. So basically all I'm telling Scilab to do is just reduce this matrix to a simple form, and it does it for me. And that is my answers. So if you remember, in my Word document I have 1 is this first column is my X column, second column is my Y column, the third column is my constant. So basically this is saying coefficient 1x plus no y's, or x equals 0.375, y equals minus 1.1875. So those are my solutions. So if I go up here, 1x, no y's, equals 0.375. 0x plus 1y equals, and can't remember the number, minus 1.1875. okay, minus 1.1875. So how does that look like in the equation? Very simply, x equals 0.375, y equals minus 1.1875. And those are the solutions. Put a space in there. So I went from, this was my system of equations, this is the solution. And I use Scilab to do the hard work to solve it. I didn't have to do anything, I just had to get things in the right form. Anyway, thanks for watching.